Being in business is all about taking risks and grasping opportunity. My name is Amit Soda. Welcome back again to the Business Spotlight interview series. Today we've got Jermaine with us from Reshape Living. Welcome to the session, Jermaine. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Great stuff. Glad to have you here. Let's get straight into it. Maybe let's start off by telling us a bit about your business and what kind of services you provide.
Reshape Living is a developer and operator of alternative living accommodations, so co-living and student. And we work with investors to make sure that they can capitalize on their income and also end users to make sure people have better living conditions in cities.
Amazing. And you've been in business for 3 years now, so clearly that's a good sign. If you were not to succeed, you wouldn't be here, but you've been not doing this for 3 years.
Yeah, we're still surviving. Obviously, it's quite interesting time in the economy, but where you've got obviously issues, that does create opportunities, which is what we're seeking to benefit from and move forward in the right way.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Now, you touched on a couple of things earlier on when we were speaking that I thought are really important things for all the listeners here to get your take on. And those are the words risk and
Mhm.
opportunity. Big words always battered around in the world of business. Sometimes they can mean nothing because they get spoken about so much. But what I wanted to do was maybe for you to share your take on how should the listeners today treat risk. You've taken risk in your business and you've taken it to a really high level. But if you were to be speaking to another business owner around risk, what would you say? What is risk in business and how do you go about managing it as you're growing your empire?
Mhm. I think taking it a step back is what's the first step to take in creating a business, and I think that does take risk. And I think often in society we have a view that if we leave our 9 to 5, we won't be able to secure another one. But one
Mm,
thing I would always say is that as you go through your career, you increase the value of your skill set and your experience, and it's probably greater than where you envision it is at the moment. So you should never be afraid of leaving employment to start a new venture, and that is an important leap of faith to do. I think when you're then running a business, it's trying to maintain that mindset. I think even myself, I've made substantial educated risks in relation to my personal income, losing employment, but you can't lose that when you're in business. You need
mm.
to stay on the same front foot. You need to be willing to double down and see where your potential can take you, because I think it's very easy to achieve something as a business owner or a couple of things and then rest on your laurels and try and sit in your comfort zone. So it's about keeping that risk taking mentality throughout.
That's such a important point to make because sometimes it's easy to think we've taken the risk, I've taken the biggest step, I've started my business, there we go, no more risks now. But what you're suggesting is, hey, look, we've got to keep seeking out opportunities by taking risks, by taking a leap of faith. Keep it going, right?
Yeah, and the leap of faith you've done today are probably smaller than ones that are coming. So it's just
Mm.
having that mindset where you might think you've made some leaps, but there's a lot more to come. And it's just continuing that belief in yourself and what you've provided and what you're doing.
Brilliant. And that word, keep belief in yourself, is so important. Plenty of business owners can lose it. Some business owners can actually thrive on it. Um, what would you say people can do or business owners can do to keep that belief, in themselves, to keep growing and keep wanting to take risks? Because being in business, as we mentioned before, it can be a lonely world.
Mhm.
How can you maintain that kind of a mindset? We'd love to hear your take on that.
Well, first of all, I think having business partners can be advantageous. Obviously, there's clear disadvantages, but I think generally speaking, have someone who's a soundboard, who's someone who's going to put equal effort and time and output into the
Mm,
business is very useful. I think beyond that as well, if you've got mentors as well, people who have trodden the same path as that you're seeking to walk, I think that's very, very beneficial as well. I definitely steer people away from working in isolation silos. I think as a business owner, sometimes you have great days and sometimes you have bad days. So it's always good to have that soundboard to reach out to through the tough times. And
mm. Soundboard, that sounds amazing. So brainstorming ideas with that person, running things by them, and can just keep your confidence up because you can see if you're in the right path or not. If you're not, you can get things corrected, right?
yeah, exactly. But also, as well, you might be on the wrong path, but you're just having a bad day and you start
Mm.
questioning yourself. So it's just having someone to share ideas with and bounce ideas with, or maybe gives you a bit of reinforcement that you are doing the right thing, whether it's a partner or someone in your family or a friend. It can make a big difference.
Definitely agree with that. I mean, as a business coach, I come across that all the time. Um, the sounding boards can be a great way of getting that confidence up. Next question, I would like to really keen to get your take on. Now, who inspires you? Because as a business owner, you're probably working on your own. You've got to find a source of inspiration from somewhere. How do you find your inspiration?
It's probably the reverse. I think for me, I had a lack of role models growing up. So because of that, it was just trodding my own path and seeing where it takes me. I think the benefit of not having role models is there's no real limitations in life, because ultimately you're not aiming for a certain level or a certain cap. You're just shooting for the stars. I think in relation to just more generic role models, just people who are masters of their craft. So someone like Michael Jordan, the basketball player, for example,
Yeah.
unbelievable example of pure passion and dedication and what that it can achieve. As to equal someone like Jordan Henderson, a footballer that Liverpool didn't want to keep, tried to sell off, didn't know what position he
Mm.
played in, and he fought so hard that he made himself the captain and he won a league title. So I think anyone that's an underdog who doesn't have all the talent but develop the talent is people that probably inspire me.
People who kind of make it underdogs, they kind of show you that anything is possible, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Look at
Hence
that
why.
Leicester City when they won the league. Anything is possible with, say, all the best will in the world. Average players doing way better than the multi millionaires. Um,
Exactly. And
inspiration, yeah.
it's the same in business. The underdogs can do very well. Very, very well.
Yeah. Now, speaking of underdogs, you mentioned the service you provide. It is very similar to some of the huge players out there with multi million pound budgets, probably listed companies as well. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty of listeners here today who have got, say, the odd pizza restaurant or who've got like a law practice and they're competing with the big boys, the ones that are right there up on the FTSE 250 or even being global franchises or something. So, what advice would you give to the smaller independent businesses like yourselves and the other listeners? What advice would you give to them who are competing with those so-called bigger players?
Mhm. So I think knowing what being a smaller business brings us an advantage. So as a smaller business, you're agile, you can move quicker, you can reach
Mm,
decisions quicker. You can also have a better platform for innovation as well, where you've got great creativity, which allows your business to pivot. I think often some of the larger businesses, yes, they have more firepower, more of a balance sheet, but they are slow moving machines. So you can really for I also think someone like HMV. HMV should have been the iTunes of the world, but it wasn't because it didn't pivot. It didn't embrace innovation. And I think as young, smaller businesses, that's what can step us apart and real create the opportunity for growth.
mm. So really taking pride and leveraging the ability to pivot as a small business as compared to bigger ones, so much bureaucracy, etc. Smaller ones, you can switch, change, maneuver all the time. Kind of using that example. Next thing I'll talk to you a bit about is a bit about USP, unique selling points. Um, there are plenty of people out there that do what we all do.
Mhm.
And users or customers think, who should I go for? Business A, business C, business D. They all do the same stuff. And then they may end up comparing us on price because that's the common denominator. If A is charging this much, B is charging C, who do I go to? And in a world where there is price competition, and in this day and age where there is a bit of a cost of living malarkey going on right now, how would advise or suggest businesses to get very competitive out there?
Mhm. So I think coming from Reshare's perspective, I think everything we do is driven by the notion of intention. So I think as individuals, what's our intention, and then as a business, what's our intention? And I think if you're a business that prides itself on good intentions and does things for the right reasons, I think that will
Mm,
come across in how you market yourself, how you operate, and how you build relationships. And I think in this world, at the moment where you're dealing with large multi corporations, I think they lose their mission and they lose their intention. And as a small business, you can really hold on that and really make sure that it comes across in everything you do. And I think with good intention come good results.
really. Love the way you say that. So inspirational. And that ties into another kind of proverb I've heard somewhere before is chase excellence and success will follow, rather than chasing success. Excellence may not follow. So you're kind of saying keep the standards up, have a strong vision, have a strong kind of a intention, and then the results always follow through.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Brilliant. And looking forward to the next 3 to 5 years. Who knows what the landscape of business is going to be? The only people that know is us because we're dictating the future. So looking at your business, forgetting the external economy like the potential recession we all hear about and the political climate, all that stuff is not in our hands to a certain degree. What would you say are the top three challenges you as a business owner you're likely to face that other listeners need to be aware of in case they can be applied to them?
So I think the first one is striking the balance between healthy and sustainable growth in relation to staff and outgoings in relation to cash flow. So
Mm,
I think you need to be reassessing your business plan and your financial cash flow probably every couple of months, and making sure you're taking measured risks. I
mm,
think the second point would be to stay positive. I think that's something that's really important in this market. I think a lot of people's business and professional and personal circumstances will change, so you need to stay positive and on course.
mm.
And then I think just being transparent and honest in your dealings as well. I think at a time where things are going to get more difficult, I think those that act in the right manner with integrity will build long lasting relationships when others may not.
Absolutely, yeah. Huge points over there. Staff, getting the balance right between staff and growth. Number two is cash flow. Really looking after your cash flow. And I like what you said. Think about and forecast your cash flow the next 3 months. I think during COVID time, somebody came up with, and one of the ministers came up and said, it's important to have a 3 month buffer in your bank. Should you not earn any revenue for 3 months, you've got enough cash in the bank for 3 months. That's very poignant advice, that Jermaine. Thank you. And staying positive and transparent. I mean, the transparency, let's hone in on that. What do you mean by staying transparent?
I think unfortunately we're in a world where a lot of people don't act with sincerity,
Mm,
and I do feel that there is a lot of value in being a transparent business where you're open book on how you're operating, why you charge what you charge, and you build respect. And if you build respect, it creates trust, and trust creates repeat business. And I think by ultimately doing that, you're taking a longer term view to building relationships rather than trying to make an extra pound on someone, but they'll never come back to you.
simply love it. So you're almost telling clients how your business operates, how you're making the money, and by them seeing that level of honesty in you, I mean, they know there's nothing hidden, and that builds trust. We all know in business how important trust is, isn't it?
Exactly, which then stems full circle back into reputation.
Fantastic. I mean, some great sharings over there. We're running out of time, but quick question I want to just sneak in here as well. I was going to ask you, what advice would you share to an 18-year-old person that's looking to go into business?
Go for it.
Go
Don't
for
let
it.
don't let anything hold you back. If you're in a position to maybe stay at your mum's or your family's for a bit longer to keep your outgoings low, do that. I would always recommend prioritizing your business over holidays or fancy cars. Like, if the earlier you start it, the more likely you have to be successful. And don't expect to be successful on the first attempt. Just keep that entrepreneurialism about you, believe in yourself, and learn from your mistakes and definitely embrace them. Every good decision I make today stems from a bad decision I made in the past.
Love it. And what a great note to end on. Every good mistake, every good decision you made has come from a bad mistake in the past, and you've learned from it. Jermaine, you've been an inspiration. Loving it. Thank you very much. And we'll keep in touch and speak to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.